Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Future of Tourism webinar on sustainability by design, building smarter systems for travel. Just going to hold another 30 seconds or so just to make sure that we give people a chance to get their seats, and then we'll kick off. We'll be quite prompt starting. Okay, let's go for it. My name is Ben Lynam. I'm Head of Communications and Research at the Travel Foundation. We're going to do some more introductions in a bit, but let me just say for now that we also have from the Future of Tourism Coalition, at least on your screen, Davika from the Destination Stewardship Centre, and Jess is hiding away behind that Tourism Cares logo, doing a great job of hosting us on their Zoom. So thank you for that. And we'll explain more about the Future of Tourism Coalition in a second. But let's first just go to the agenda for today. So we're going to pretty much get straight into it. You're just going to listen to me for a few minutes to explain what the Future Tourism Coalition is, in case you've forgotten. And then we're going to focus on the meat of the day, which is the presentations from our three great speakers here. So we're going to do some quick presentations for each, and then we are going to have a discussion. And that means that we are looking for questions from you, from our audience too. It'd be really great if you can start throwing those into the Q&A function, as well as, if you like, the chat. But if you really want to make sure that we see it, it's the Q&A. Please use the chat more for saying hi, connecting, commenting, all that sort of stuff. But if you have a question that you would like us to flag and put to the panelists, then the Q&A function is the best one there. You see, we also have closed captions, so you can follow us using that too, particularly if you have a different language that you would like to follow this in. We are going to be recording this. It's already being recorded. We will circulate that. You'll see the slides within that. So that's all sorted for you. So just relax and listen to what we've got to say, and think about what kind of questions you might have. Final point here, we are live streaming this also on Facebook, which we're quite excited about, because this is the first time the Future of Tourism Coalition has done this. It's part of the Green Destinations event that's going on at the moment too. So we're kind of connecting it to that, which is really great for us. So lots and lots of chances for people to see what's going on today, and hopefully we'll have lots and lots of feedback from you guys too. Okay, so let's just quickly recap what the Future of Tourism Coalition is all about. We got together, basically the 5 NGOs, organizations got together, and in June 2020, around the COVID times that we all just about remember, we came together and really thought, everyone's talking about building back better. We need to be a bit clearer about what that actually means. And we really saw a chance for us as our organizations to collaborate with each other and with you to actually make a difference. So we came up with 13 guiding principles, and we're just going to flash them on the screen now. Not going to go through each of these, but really I think you could probably sum this up as what we see better tourism being. And obviously really being underpinning, I guess, a general feeling of destination stewardship here, I think, is really what we wanted to put forward. Putting the destination first was our main mantra, and we developed these 13 guiding principles accordingly. We then asked organizations if they could sign up to those principles, and people still keep doing it. They keep signing up, and it's absolutely brilliant to see. Last count, we had over 900 signatories from all sorts of different types of organizations from around the world. You can see here from the size of the circle, the kind of composition of our signatories, but it's a real mix, and I think that's definitely one of the biggest strengths of this community that we have built. So what is the Future Tourism Coalition? I mean, ultimately, It is this network that we built. It's a community that we do our best to come together. The three speakers that you're going to hear from today, have come forward through our signatory communications, and we will invite others to do so. So please do let us know if you're interested in participating in a webinar like this or some other way. We regularly produce newsletters, so you can sign up for those too. We have a LinkedIn page where we pop insights and that sort of thing too. And on our website, which is futureoftourism.org, we have tools, resources that you might like to have a look at. We've tried to connect those as much as possible to those 13 guiding principles. And hopefully, the resources that we're pulling together there can help you and guide you through those. So that's enough about the Future of Tourism Coalition. We're here more to listen to these three lovely people, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, because you'll do it much better than I will. So in order of appearance, Stacey.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ben, for the introduction here. I am Stacey Cabell. I am living at the beautiful Jersey Shore here in Toms River, New Jersey, and I am the founder of Star Stuff Travel, a full-service travel agency.
Thank you, Stacey. Simon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ben. Simon Reuter, pronouns he, him, with Outdooractive. What we are and what we do, I'll tell you in a minute during my presentation. Born and raised in Germany, actually living in Ecuador, but joining you right now from Green Destinations 2025 conference in Montpellier, France. So live from the conference. Really stoked to be here.
Amazing. Thanks, Simon. And Gergana.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am Gergana, and good morning and good afternoon and good evening, because we already here, we are from different parts of the world. I am Gergana, and I actually represent BehaviorSMART. I'm CEO and co-founder, and we are a Swiss-based company. I originally am from Bulgaria. And you will hear in a little bit more about our work, but in general, we help businesses and destinations optimize costs, improve traveler experiences, and strengthen their competitive edge. So my goal is to leave you with some inspiring and practical cases, fostering better behavior. So hopefully you will walk out with some practical examples that you can apply tomorrow. So more soon.
That's amazing. Thanks, Gergana. And what you'll notice from this webinar is the theme around traveler behavior. I think we have three really different takes on the same theme here, and we're going to try and encourage you to look at the connections between the three speakers today. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. So buckle up. We'll start with Stacey. Thanks a lot, Stacey. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Stacey Cabell, and I am the founder of Star Stuff Travel. And I'm really excited to spend the next few minutes with you talking about something I believe every travel professional has the power to influence: how we show up for the destinations that we sell. Today, we'll take a look at how we can use education, not just for ourselves, but also for our clients, to create more meaningful, sustainable travel experiences that truly give back. What is destination stewardship? So let's start with a simple definition. Destination stewardship is all about taking care of the places that we send our clients, not just for today's travelers, but for generations that will follow. It's about protecting the culture, environment, and economy of a destination, and doing it in a way that tourism doesn't just take from a place, but that it actually gives back. Now, here's where we come in. As travel professionals, we have influence before a trip ever starts. We help shape the traveler's mindset. We guide their choices, and often we're the first and only person they talk to about a destination before they'll ever arrive. That's why it's so important for us to understand what destination stewardship looks like in action and how we can be a part of it. Why do travel advisors matter so much? So, most travelers don't just stumble across destination stewardship pledges or cultural etiquette guides on their own. They find those through us, their trusted travel advisors. Before a traveler lands at a destination, they've usually had multiple touch points with their advisor through activities like discovery calls, email confirmations, pre-trip documents, and more. This gives us a huge opportunity to set the tone for their entire experience. We can gently nudge them towards businesses that are locally owned. We can suggest a volunteer experience like reforestation in Hawaii, including recent efforts on Maui to restore areas impacted by wildfires. Share safe packing tips, maybe like bringing reef safe sunscreen, or simply tell them why a destination deserves their respect. And it's not about lecturing, it's about inspiring. Planting the seed that their visit leaves a footprint, and they get to choose whether that footprint is helpful or harmful. Now, let's take a look a little bit closer at Hawaii, which has become one of the strongest models of destination stewardship in the travel world. They've created 3 incredible tools to support both travelers and travel professionals. The Malama Hawaii program offers visitors the chance to give back during volunteering, maybe during their trip, whether it's reforesting native trees, cleaning beaches, or helping preserve cultural sites. The Destination Specialist Program provides training to advisors just like us, so we're equipped to represent Hawaii and its culture accurately and respectful. And the Pono Pledge, which I've actually done myself, teaches travelers what it means to travel with reverence, to respect sacred places, wildlife, and people. The result, a destination where tourism isn't just happening, it's happening with intention. And advisors like us are supported every step of the way. Now, what happens if your destination doesn't have a program? Let's be real, most destinations don't have a formal Malama style program like Hawaii has created for us, but that doesn't mean we have to sit back and do nothing. This is where we as travel advisors can become the bridge. We still teach travelers how to show up respectfully by maybe sharing cultural etiquette, recommending local restaurants and shops, and avoiding harmful behaviors like geotagging sacred sites or touching marine life. One thing that I personally love to do is ask my local in-destination partners, what do you wish more visitors knew before arriving to your destination? And their answers are gold. I just turn them right into my guidance for my clients. And the best part, it creates more meaningful experiences for our travelers while supporting the places they visit and the destinations we love to support. So how do we make destination stewardship part of our everyday workflow as a travel professional? Here are a few simple ways to start. Add eco-friendly tips or cultural etiquette to your final itineraries. Maybe think about creating a responsible packing list and recommending things like that reef-safe sunscreen, a reusable water bottle, or refillable travel size containers. Create a little mini respect checklist. Include a blurb in your emails or welcome kits that thanks travelers for being mindful guests. And the important thing to remember too is that these touches don't just help the destination, they help your brand because clients will remember when you go the extra mile. And even better, you become known as the advisor that helps people travel with heart. Now, as travel professionals, we're uniquely positioned to lead with action. This slide will recommend some practical next steps any agent can begin using immediately, no matter what your niche or experience level is. For example, consider asking a supplier about sustainability before booking a hotel will show your value and build clients' trust. Adding a short section about how to travel responsibly to every itinerary just takes a few minutes. But it can completely shift how your client shows up when they're in destination. And the more we normalize these these conversations, the more we can shift the culture of travel one booking at a time. We're not just sellers, we're stewards. Every itinerary you send, every tip you share, every tour you recommend, it all helps shape travelers, how they see the world and how they experience the world. And when we lead with purpose, we help preserve the places we love and ensure they're around for the next generation. So, my challenge to you is this: choose one thing, just one, that you can start doing this week to support destination stewardship. Maybe it's including that respectful travel tip in your itinerary template. Maybe it's taking the time to learn etiquette of your top selling destination. Maybe it's just asking your clients to be kind. However you start, you're already making a difference because you're here attending this webinar today. Before we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this image and a final thought. This photo was taken during a team experience I had in Alaska, standing on a glacier. A powerful reminder of the beauty and fragility of our planet. We're not just travel planners, we're stewards, we're guides, we're educators, and every itinerary we build is an opportunity to shape someone's understanding of the world in a more meaningful way. You do not need a formal program to make a difference, you just need intention and the courage to lead with care. Thank you so much for being here with me today and taking the time to invest in your business on behalf of your clients, but more importantly, on behalf of your planet. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much, Stacey. Just a quick question for me before we move on to Gergana. Do you know, I mean, I love that message. We're not just sellers, we're stewards. And I think you've really been able to identify even sort of small things that you can do today, tomorrow, to begin to make that difference. Obviously, the Hawaii program was a more developed program. Do you know, have you had much feedback from those guys in Hawaii about how much that program they may be able to kind of sense a difference, or any feedback from your clients maybe in terms of things that they may have sort of appreciated about that program?
Absolutely. I think that just educating our clients, and Hawaii is one of my top selling destinations. I also have family that lives in Hawaii, so I have a really added bonus of why I'm so passionate about creating that space for them. But just educating a client and saying like things about maybe how they wouldn't have realized that parking in a neighborhood on a weekend where the residents live can really affect how their work-life balance is kind of affected. It helps them because it's just those little conversations that clients aren't thinking about before they travel to a destination. And I work very closely with the tourism board in Hawaii. I know Tourism Cares works very closely with them as well. And I think that they're seeing a significant rise of education and just people helping and making those smaller decisions to change the way that they travel is really something very, very wonderful.
That's great. Thanks, Stacey. There's some questions coming in on the Q&A as well, which I'll save for later because I'm going to now go on to Gergana because this is a good transition. Gergana, over to you. I won't speak any longer.
Thank you. Yes, such a perfect transition. And I'm actually starting. Who is really responsible for the unsustainability in travel? Is it the traveler or the system they navigate? And as we know, tourism powers economies, but it also leaves all of that waste, emissions, and costs. So, as much as all of the travelers state they want to be responsible, let's be just honest. Everyone grabs a plastic water bottle, take a taxi, or overconsume resources, especially when on holiday. So why is this? Is it that people don't care, or it's because the system around them isn't really planned with psychology in mind, with how people make decisions? So this is where we need to apply human and traveler realism so that we can better understand the thinking of the traveler. And thinking about the usual approach in the industry, signs in bathrooms asking guests to save water, or emails asking them to reduce their footprint. These don't work not because guests are careless, but because they don't really act in their brain and it doesn't really work how people make decisions. The guest is focused on the experience, and this is their main reason to travel. So instead of, as Stacy mentioned, really educating or applying guilt to the traveler, we actually need a different approach and make the desired behavior the easy and automatic option for the traveler. And this is what we do, and this is what is in the core of our work, applying the BehaviorSMART methodology. Our starting point is always being realistic about how people really think, decide, and act. Only then we can design solutions and experiences that work better and meet the expectations. We really need to stop expecting travelers to make sustainability their priority simply because their priority is the experience. And yes, we need to face it, the paradox that surveys say that over 80% of travelers care about sustainability, but they don't really act on like this when they're on a journey. So, as travel professionals, building on what Stacy mentioned, it is in our hands to design the experiences so that the easiest and most attractive option for the traveler happens to be also the most sustainable one. So, do you know why the priority goes for the experience and it's not really on really going deeper into the into being more responsible when we are traveling? Because we people are very irrational, and I'll give you a very simple example of about how irrational we are. And I see some familiar names and friends, so you might have heard that example, but I think it's a very easy to understand, so that's why I'm using it again. If you are to buy a coffee pot for 35 euro and you hear that you can save 10 euro if you walk 2 blocks down the road, you, as most everyone, will accept that offer and go and buy the coffee pot that is 10 euro cheaper. But if you are to buy a backpack that costs 650 euro and you're offered to walk 2 blocks down the road for the same 10 euro that you can save, you, as most everyone, will ignore it. And why is this? Isn't that the same effort walking 2 blocks down the road for the same 10 euro? But your brain actually treats the 10 euro in a different way in the different cases. So let me explain why is this and relate also this to the travelers and their decision-making process. Our brain, and I have a little bit of a science here to share. Our brain has two systems with which we make decisions, and the one we tend to use more and more, especially in nowadays fast-paced world, is the fast decision-making system, which uses shortcuts, the context around us, previous experience. And this is not the system that analyzes the information available, and it is not the system that makes optimal decisions. It is the one that makes these irrational decisions. Otherwise, we wouldn't be treating the same 10 euro and the same effort in two different ways. So, what happened exactly is that influenced by the immediate context, we have a bigger amount that really influences how we make a decision at that point, and 10 euros seem very insignificant. For the 35 euro offer, we're saving almost a third of the amount. So it sounds very appealing, and we're about to go. And Simon, thank you for nodding your head. I appreciate that. Seeing this, that you relate to that, as I know that you will be speaking also to some of that. So let's imagine also now relating to our favorite traveler industry and thinking about the traveler on a holiday. The traveler faces dozens of micro decisions each day: food, transport, waste, activities, experiences. Each feels small and automatic, but all together shape the entire footprint of the trip. So this is why signs and reminders fail. Such signs and reminders assume rational and deliberate decision making, but the reality is that most decisions are fast, emotional, and context driven. So, what do? We stop expecting travelers to make sustainability their priority because we know that their priority is really the experience. And going back to where I started, our responsibility is to design the experiences so the easiest and most attractive option also happens to be the most sustainable one. And that's why choice design is no longer nice to have, but it's really a must have. And moving more into the practicality, how do we make this scientific knowledge more practical one? The traditional approach has been more demand driven and asking travelers to do better. The behavior smart approach is actually a supply driven approach. Design experiences so the better happens automatically. And here we are not talking about heavy educational or expensive campaigns. We are really talking about small adjustments, the default options, making attractive choices, very clear communications, things that cost little to be designed and to be presented, but really make a big difference. And this is how sustainability becomes a smart business move and not an added burden. Choice design programs choice design programs, operations, and services for the behavior we want to see. And this is the essence of the behavior smart methodology, using behavioral science to deliver outcomes that businesses, destinations, and travelers really want. So, in the remaining few minutes from theory, we'll move into practical examples from our work where we have used and applied these tools and have reached really impressive and replicable results. Let's start from Slovenia, and where we were working with an accommodation complex that wanted to reduce pressure on overcrowded hotspots. Traditionally, they would post signs asking guests to avoid peak sites, and it didn't work. What happened is we reframed these alternative locations, made them really exciting and irresistible. I'm very sorry. And the result is that 100% of the guests visited at least one of the alternative sites. If we go to Italy, an example comes after working with our clients on shifting mobility. Guests were defaulting to taxis. The property had sent emails reminding and encouraging them to use public transportation, but the effect was very little. So we created clear and attractive walking maps, very simple ones, how they can get to the different attractions and local restaurants. Suddenly, following that easy to navigate map, almost 70% of the travelers actually walked or used public transport, which led to less carbon, happier guests. Actually, the guest satisfaction index for the property has increased because they interacted with some local people and really went to the small hidden streets. And also, there was no need for additional infrastructure. The next example comes from Norway, where the hotel wanted to focus on smart energy use. Oftentimes, we see examples and signs, please help us save the energy. What happens? Guests ignore them. So instead, what we did is we lowered the temperature by default and explained why. Guests really appreciated that extra knowledge, and they were also offered some locally produced made socks, and were encouraged to stay the local way and to use these socks if they want to warm up their feet. What was the result? It was 24% less energy used, which also translates into 24% less costs for the property. The next example also focuses on reduction of costs. It comes from Italy. And the example there is with sailing operator who attempted to educate the travelers to pre-purchase the different packaging for the boat in a different way. It didn't really work until a list with very simple tips of from where and what they can buy prior to getting on the boat. And this led to 20% less waste on the boat, which also led to 20% less costs for the operator for paying for waste. The last two examples come from Norway. The first one tested an optional package-free lunch with an option for an alternative selection. But after seeing 76% of travelers opting for this package-free lunch, they actually decided for the next season to go as the default and single option. So they're changing how they're offering options or removing options for the travelers. The last example, again, as I mentioned, from Norway, where, as we know, recycling is a science itself. Very often travelers get confused how to separate their trash. At the big camping complex, they faced an issue that many travelers were throwing most of their trash into the general bin. The challenge was that the trash collection company refused collecting it until it is sorted because it's against their practices. So they had to assign a person going through the trash and sorting it. Quite a disgusting job, as we all agree. So what we help them with is really develop a very easy to navigate visual guide on how to use the different bins. And this helped reduce 38% of the general waste. So this role, dirty jobs, was removed from the responsibility, and it helped a big issue for the camping complex. So this was a mix of cases, mostly presenting a different challenge or a different priority for a business. But what happens if we see many different challenges and how we can tackle them all together? So let's imagine now these examples at a scale. Imagine a traveler arriving in a destination where every menu naturally highlights seasonal, local food. Every map makes walking and smart mobility the easy choice. Every activity option feels exciting and spreads people around. Then travelers wouldn't be making sacrifices. They'd simply enjoy richer experiences while they simply they simply enjoy richer experiences while the supply chains run more efficiently and sustainably by design. So this is the future of tourism. No, not really signs, not reminders, but systems that are designed with psychology in mind. And at BehaviorSMART, we've proven this methodology works with some of our cases. So we'd love to explore how we can continue sharing that knowledge and experience and support more destinations and businesses. Thank you, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you so much, Gergana. And having stayed at a campsite recently where I peeped into the recycling bins to see the atrocious behaviors of my fellow campers, I think clearly your services are much needed. Just a quick question before we move on, and I guess I was just thinking how what Stacey's just said combines what you just said, Gergana, and how that would make it even more powerful. Obviously, if you could kind of prep the traveler first, and then when they arrive, they're sort of being nudged in all these ways. Do you have any kind of insight into the extent to which these pledges can actually kind of nudge behavior. I mean, obviously, you know, with further kind of context, maybe once they're there. But have you got any kind of understanding of that at all?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. And yes, the pledges are also a way to design for that desired behavior and pre-program before that the experience through communication, through some small tweaks in the operations, so that we can actually navigate the traveler through to get to that desired behavior. So these are good, very practical and efficient. So again, with a little bit of an effort from the design, they work very well.
Great, thanks, Gergana. And so we're talking still about sustainability by design, and we have a new aspect now that Simon's going to take us through. Over to you, Simon.
Yeah, hey, thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to be speaking here, and also thanks to the organizers for putting this together. I will talk about impact-driven destination stewardship through data and technology. And before I start, I have to say I couldn't agree more with Gergana. We have to design destinations not for how we wish travelers would behave, but for how they actually behave at a given point in time. Otherwise, we're going to fail. So sustainability can't be one of multiple options. We need responsibility by design. And I want to give you two examples of data-driven solutions from our work at Outdooractive Research, as well as a methodology for visitor management that forms an excellent basis for data-driven approaches. So it might sound a bit dry, but I believe you'll catch a lot from that and be able to apply that to your destination stewardship practice. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I myself manage research and innovation projects at Outdooractive. Outdooractive, for those who do not know us, is the world's leading platform for nature-based and adventure tourism. Over the last 30 years, we have built a digital ecosystem that connects pretty much everyone and everything in tourism. On a B2B side, we run a platform and app that is the world's most reliable travel guide and contains millions of activities, and an app that is that has routes, that has points of interest, that has activities and offers. And on a B2B side, we work very closely with destinations, with protected areas, and thousands of other professional partners in the wider tourism sector. We provide digital infrastructures for large parts of the work, management tools, etc. And I think we all know this chicken and egg problem that Gergana also mentioned. Whose responsibility is it to move first towards sustainable or responsible tourism? Is it the consumer by demanding sustainable offers, or is it the destination by making them a reality first? I believe that technology and data can actually make it easier for destinations to make that first move and break out of that vicious cycle. So today I want to address three key challenges for responsible destination stewardship. First, how can we manage and guide large numbers of visitors to everyone's benefit, avoiding overcrowding, etc.? How can we improve climate-friendly mobility to and within the destination? And how can we protect nature in and around the destination from unwanted impacts? And to address the first challenge, the one on visitor management, I want to share a very interesting methodology with you, the so-called INPReS escalation framework, or INPReS intervention framework. This is a methodology that was scientifically developed by Professor Dirk Schmücker and his colleague in a research project that we were part of. We actually wanted to develop the foundations for an AI-based recommendation system that tackles overcrowding and unguided visitor flows in destinations. Interestingly enough, we found that the interventions that actually work when it comes to managing and guiding visitors can all be placed within this here escalation model, the INPReS framework. So how does it work? The horizontal axis shows the intensity of visitor pressure, few visitors and little pressure on the left, and then two big numbers of visitors and basically unmanageable pressure on the right. And the vertical axis shows the responsiveness of visitors. Towards the top end, you have a situation where visitors are, out of their own motivation, very open to official communications and recommendations because they're in need of information and they feel it kind of enhances their experience. So, you know, your first-time visitors often fall within the spectrum. And towards the lower end, you have a situation where visitors are not very responsive because they feel like they already know everything, they have all the information they need, they know what's best for themselves. So those are, for example, your residents and your recurring visitors who fall within the spectrum. And basically all you have to do now is to analyze the situation well, technically any situation within your destination. How big is the visitor pressure at a specific time and place, and how responsive are the visitors in that situation at a specific time? Because this then allows you to apply the right interventions. If the visitors are very responsive and the pressure is low, you will be able to achieve the necessary visitor guidance solely by giving information. Your next escalation step would be to develop ways of smartly nudging visitors towards a certain behavior by, for example, rewarding them, withholding certain information, etc. If that is not enough, you can resort to pricing. That is something that many visitors respond strongly to. If you make something more expensive, fewer people will go in practice. Now, if that still isn't sufficient, you can resort to making reservations obligatory. So basically it means if a visitor hasn't pre-registered, they cannot visit a certain place. So for example, permits fall into this category. However, in this case, you have to start being really careful because this needs to be enforced. If you don't enforce it, then it's completely powerless, this tool, because people will quickly learn that, it doesn't really matter. And finally, if nothing else works, then really only then you have to resort to hard stops. Forbid entrance to certain sites and areas, close trails, close sites and attractions, and force it with the force of law. So altogether, this can actually be a very helpful tool for determining what interventions will have the best possible impact for achieving the kind of visitor management that you need at a certain place and time. Lots of work, but at least you're going to make an informed decision. So how can that look in regard to responsible destination stewardship in practice? First, regarding climate-friendly mobility, in one of our projects, we were faced with a common challenge. Many of you probably know this kind of challenge. How can we help design a climate-friendly service, a transportation service, bus service, that makes people leave their car at home when they go out to explore the outdoors, when they go to the trailhead? In this particular experiment I want to present, it was about mountain bikes. We knew we had to make it more convenient than the private car, so we offered additional benefits for the service, like different drop-off and pickup spots, so you could do one-way tours, for example. And we wanted to make sure it would meet a real existing demand. And here's how platform and user data from our own platform helped us figure this out. We looked at the most popular mountain biking routes in the region, mapped it with a chronograph showing the reachability with local trains that allow you to take your bike within 1 hour from the urban areas where most visitors come from. And this way we found the existing gaps in the public transportation offer, which you can see in that light blue on the right of the screen. We then, in the next step, used our built-in trail heat map to check whether our results actually reflected the use of trails, in this case by bicycle, over the last 365 days. And this way we knew where exactly our electric pilot bus would have to go. We also realized that just offering this wouldn't be enough. We would also have to make finding these climate-friendly transportation offers easier and more convenient. So we integrated a transportation layer into all of our products. They show all available train and bus lines and stations, and even a module within points of interest, within accommodation content, tourism activities, to encourage users to choose a sustainable mode of transportation, as you can see in this example on the screen. And all of this can, of course, also be white labeled, so we can integrate this into existing destination websites, hotel websites, etc. So in a nutshell, here's what we learned. If we want to make climate-friendly mobility the default and not an option for choice, we have to tell positive stories, make the offer and the communication match the individual needs of the visitor, and we have to highlight both the benefits of this experience, like more convenience, cheaper prices, etc., and the positive impact that it has. So in this case, we can cater to the first 3 steps of the INPReS framework, all through one solution, basically. Now, regarding the third challenge, responsible human-nature interaction in a destination, we have a challenge that was very much observed in recent years, at least in Central Europe. We see more and more visitors in nature. And that puts pressure on local ecosystems, and it puts pressure on sensitive species that are sensitive to disturbance, etc. Usually, in a lot of spaces, you have nature protection rules in place in protected areas. But most visitors, as we found out through studies, are actually not aware of them. They just don't know which rules apply where. So we developed, tested, and refined a number of UX solutions that we could integrate into our product and that would show the rules and regulations so that visitors would be less likely to break them. We would confront them whether they want it or not. So here you can see some of the results. First, we have to make sure to integrate the rules relevant to a visitor into all information sources, not just once and not 10 clicks away. It has to be obvious. It has to be in the maps. It has to be in the route descriptions. It has to be in the travel guides. And they have to be up to date and understandable. They must be UX optimized, as we say. The user experience comes first here. Now, when it comes to planning activities and navigating in the field, it is crucially that we also automatically integrated the rules. And most importantly, we had to consider areas with access restrictions. So we wanted to make sure people would not enter a space where they shouldn't be. So we would always route around them to not disturb the wildlife there. And even if the restrictions are temporary, they must be considered at the time they are valid. So this had to be filtered in as well. The data for that, the rules and the regulations of protected areas, they come from a platform called Digitize the Planet. It's an NGO that runs an open database of verified rules and regulations for the use of nature. And this is for protected areas worldwide. We helped develop this, and now we have connected it to a platform for automatic integration. And we think it's really important that this doesn't happen just on our platform and app. So here's an example from Slovenia, the famous Triglav National Park. I feel like whenever we talk about sustainability and tourism, at least 2 people are going to bring up examples from Slovenia. Well done, guys. So this is from the famous Triglav National Park, and their app and website uses our technology too. So they have the same integration of rules and access restriction that we have in our platform. They enter the data once, very important, just once, very little effort, and it is automatically shown everywhere in our platform, on their channels, on their app, everywhere. So what is really important here is to provide consistent and reliable information, both online and offline. And this does not have to be difficult for you. If you work with a smart, well-connected system, it's actually very low effort. So here are a few key takeaways I want to share with you before I finish my talk. If we want to incorporate responsibility into our guests' experience, we must focus on the experiences that are actually responsible by design, through transparency, through storytelling, and where possible, through certification, because accountability is important. If we want to facilitate behavior change in our visitors, we must understand how we can nudge and influence them psychologically. And then we must engineer offers and communications that encourage and solidify this. Basically, everything Gergana just told you. And this is absolutely crucial. We must monitor what we are doing and what impact it has so that we can correct our course to responsibility. We have to collect data and measure what matters, for example, using tracking heat maps like we have them in our B2B product. User interactions have to be tracked. We can incorporate sensors in the field to count people, etc. We must define key performance indicators that help us track the impact of our intervention so that we can make smart and informed decisions. And we have to use the data to analyze whether we are on the right track and where we can still intervene effectively. We at Outdooractive are very happy to play a role in this and to work together with our partners, with you, towards destination stewardship that is responsible by design. The data and technology part, we have that down. So we want to make that as easy and convenient for destinations as possible. But you still have to make the decisions. So yeah. Thank you again for the Future of Tourism Coalition for inviting me today, and I'm excited to discuss the implications and opportunities with the other speakers and with all of you. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thanks, Simon. So 3 really interesting presentations. Thank you so much to all 3 of you. And it really was clear how each reinforced the other in terms of ways that you can nudge or cajole or enforce different behaviors among travelers that are going to be more beneficial. I think I got a quick question for you first, Simon, before we kind of open up, as I have for everyone, if that's okay. And I just sort of looking through the INPReS kind of hierarchy, if you like, trying to kind of figure out sort of what happens when we go down the hierarchy or up the hierarchy to things like reservations and stopping and that sort of thing, where you say that there's sort of a need for more enforcement and that side of things. have you can you apply that to a destination that would be like a city or a sort of a living place? I mean, it might be a slightly different thing when you're looking at sort of nature parks and reserves and those sorts of things. I'm just kind of wondering how easy is it to apply that to kind of other types of destination?
So this range is really from very easy to incredibly complicated. It really depends on how many other influencing factors are there. I love how Gergana nods in agreement, because I'm sure this is something that you encounter a lot. So, you know, we tried something like this, for example, at a cycling path by a river where all people move past one spot. And this is incredibly like an incredibly obvious and easy place to incorporate this. It's just one mode of transportation, cycling, and it's just one place and everybody has to go through there. Perfect, right? Like that's easy. But then you might end up in an inner city where you have a pedestrian area with alleyways going in all direction. You have a bunch of sites and attractions that want to stay open. You have people moving in and out. You don't know who's a local, who's a resident, who's a visitor, who's a day visitor, who's an overnight tourist, and it gets incredibly difficult. So in the end, it really comes down to trying out things. That is the reality of things. You will not get it right on the first try. And I would always suggest sort of starting low in terms of like, you know, make your intervention. No, don't start with the most radical intervention. Start with something soft. See whether it works. Try it out. Give it a little bit of time. You also will need to get the understanding from the other stakeholders that you will not be able to fix it right away. You'll have to try it out. You'll have to get the data to analyze this and see whether it works or not, and then sort of move up the ladder basically and say, okay, this hasn't worked. We'll have to try again, and we'll have to be harsher this time. And what's most important there is actually not finding something that works, but getting all of the stakeholders in the destination to agree to this course of action. That is actually the hardest part. Because if you don't have the support of those who run the destination together with you, you're going to fail. But this is a lot of work. Most destination managers I speak to tell me that sometimes to them it feels like they're managing more stakeholders than guests. So I don't want to say it's easy, because the reality is it's not, but it's necessary.
That's great. Thanks. Gergana, you've nodded so many times there. I just want to invite you to respond as well.
Yes, I'm nodding because yes, as Simon mentioned, yes, very much relate to this. At the same time, something that through our work we realized that it's important to understand the motivation of every stakeholder. And for most businesses, obviously, it is either to generate more revenue or to optimize their processes. And when we know what is the core motivation for this stakeholder for that moment, you can actually integrate them in the process through that motivation, because and through behavioral science you can actually always have the outcome as sustainability by design. You just take them through the different motivation. If businesses, as I mentioned, yes, obviously they want to grow as a business in most cases, so there are so many ways you can optimize the operations, and at the end, you have more sustainable operations, whether these examples, waste or energy, water, and so on. If it is about engaging local communities and how to actually balance this pressure from local communities, again, you can spin the process, and we have a program called the First Mile, and make these first small steps so that actually people see that they can benefit from that transition, and slowly get them on board with your goal and with your strategy in place.
Thanks, Gergana. I'm going to try and combine one of the questions from the audience into the sort of the wider question that we were going to put to you, which is really we had one from Dale early on, which was asking about, can we even like nudge people in the first place to think about the destination they're going? We've kind of made a bit of an assumption, I think, in these conversations. We focus on the destination and you know, all about the destination and what you might do when you get there. And so I think you know, the question is, you know, do you have any kind of experience or knowledge of how and when we might nudge people even around the destination? decision making. And Stacey, that might be one for you to pick up. And then I guess from each of you, when should we kind of contact each of at each stage in the visitor journey? What's the right thing to be kind of pushing at when, basically? So pre-journey, arrival, when you're there, after you've gone, all that kind of thing. I just wonder kind of if there's a way of kind of bringing these strategies together for the ultimate behavior change campaign. Stacey, would you like to start off the conversation?
Yeah, sure. I think that it's something that you really don't have to put too much thought into as far as making it a bigger issue. Just have the conversation flat out when you're talking to your client. And if I'm correct, my question is pretty much how or when do we start the conversation about the destination, right? So just start the conversation. There is no right or wrong time. The conversation can be led by you. It's not always on top of mind with our clients. I mean, when you look at the general public and everything going on in today's world, most of the clients that are coming to us as travel advisors are asking maybe political driven questions about visiting certain destinations. And it's just about slowly, organically bringing up top of mind conversation that you can start right away with your client very organically.
Thanks, Stacey. Simon?
Yeah, I mean, I really like what you just said, Stacey, with like there is not the one perfect time, because the reality is it's usually not up to you to choose that perfect time, right? Like you have to deal with what you have. You have to deal with the visitors at the point of the destination of their visitor journey that they are in. And what we found, we did a bunch of studies on sustainability communication, for example, is that way more than the point of time of conversation and the touch point itself, what matters way more than that is coherency. Give coherent messages and make sure that basically from the first moment, from the inspiration phase up until after their stay, the guests, the travelers are sort of met with the same, let's say, general messages about the destination. And therefore, I really like the example from Hawaii, because they really thought that too. They say like, okay, we have a certain way of how we want to manage and how we want to steer this conversation, this destination. And we have to start actually right at the beginning, at the first moment when somebody enters a travel agency, and not once they've already made their booking and they are here, then we have to put up a sign. The sign still needs to be there. The digital tools still need to be there, but the messages need to stay coherent. And this is where it's really, really important that you think things through and that you look for smart systems. So, because otherwise you end up having a ton of work, but if you have a clear strategy, a clear guideline as a destination, then you can think about, okay, what kind of messages am I putting out through which channels, and how can I make sure that they stay coherent from start to finish?
And just to pick up on a question, I mean, what do you do about idiots? I think is basically the question. So there's an example here with someone who just ignores the signs, goes ahead and does what they're doing for whatever reason. They didn't notice it, or they didn't want to notice it. I mean, are we just moving down the hierarchy or up the hierarchy at that point, Simon?
So unpopular opinion here. The first part, not. If possible, stop them. But now comes the unpopular. If not, ignore them and don't make a big deal out of it. We tend to take these, in this case, really singular cases, and then single them out and get this frustration and feeling that, all of our guests are just treating our destination terribly, and this is so bad. And this is also what's usually picked up in the local press. Get some data to back that up. How many people are actually ignoring the rules, and how big is the negative impact actually? And then make sure that you do shame them publicly, but so that your stakeholders are happy, but at the same time, don't give in to a feeling that, it's all going terribly because of this. I want to give one very quick example. I promise to be brief. In my home region in the Allgäu, where we are based, a lot of locals feel like all of the parking lots are crowded because the people come from the big cities. They come from the big cities and they park, and everything is full and the trails are full of people. So local universities send out students to count number plates, because in Germany you can tell where a car is coming from. And they found out that 80% of the cars on the parking lots were from the immediate region, from like not more than 20 kilometers away. They were locals. And this is a kind of data that you need to put into the conversation, because in the end, very, very often these things happen. People do terrible things, and some people are just idiots and you can't fix it. It's impossible. But you can still reach your goals, and this doesn't mean that you failed entirely.
Gergana, you want to follow that up? And can you answer the question around what if it's just more expensive? How can you kind of nudge people if the sustainable choice is the more expensive one? And I think that will have to be the last before we wrap up, sadly, because of the time.
Yes, very quickly. Actually, even if the sign is there, people may not see it. So, and very often this is the case. I had a recently case where someone was smoking right next to me without knowing that it's forbidden. And very politely, just I turned to that person while I was very frustrated, and it had much more impact if I actually made a big scene out of this situation. So sometimes we actually need to make an extra effort and be politer.
And that's community enforcement there as well, an example.
Exactly, exactly. So yes, as much as it is frustrating, we need to continue being a good example and actually try to highlight the rules. Nudging, actually, there are many solutions that lead to more optimization of the operations or the offerings. So sustainability doesn't need to be more expensive. I saw one of the questions related to this. So we need to be thinking about how we can, again, through the business motivation, how to present the offer so that it is more appealing. So we shouldn't be always treating that the sustainable option is the more expensive, and if it is more expensive, we explain why, we make it more appealing so that it is more attractive. So I hope this helps.
Thanks, Gergana. There were some other really interesting questions. We've run out of time. So what we would like to do is capture those questions. We'll circulate it with our panelists. Thank you so much for your time today. And we'll capture some thoughts and share those on our newsletter and on our LinkedIn, if that's okay with you guys. We're getting some extra mileage out of you. But that would be great if that's okay. And apologies to those who have given those questions and we haven't had time yet to put them to you. Three really interesting presentations. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to my colleagues who have also supported us in running this webinar. And most of all, thank you to everyone who has listened in and been such great sports with your comments and with your questions. I hope you've got something out of today, and keep an eye out for our next events that are coming your way soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.